Welcome to r/best of Redditor updates, where a guy gets fired over an emotional support cat. Our next Reddit post is from Bullying Boss. I managed a team of 12 people, and last year we had a 13th member added when another manager refused to deal with him any longer. He's diagnosed with depression and general anxiety disorder. He's morbidly obese and suffers from musculoskeletal problems related to his obesity and diabetes. When he came to me, it was because I've helped other mentally ill staff members, and I was happy to take them on, and I felt that I could help them. We did make progress and steadily increased their level of work. It's never reached the level considered acceptable, but I made accommodations to relieve pressure, hoping this would lead to sustained long-term improvement. I sought out equipment to help them be more physically comfortable, given their obesity. I felt we were making progress. Unfortunately, they committed a serious breach of security, sent out personal information to someone legally not entitled to have it, and I had to place them on formal disciplinary action. Since then, they've been on sick leave for over 3 months. They're now subject to attendance management procedures and have reached out to a local mental health group and advised them that I've bullied and harassed them. This bullying and harassment, according to them, has made it impossible for them to return to work. I have documented evidence that this is not true. When they were told they needed to move away from me for health and safety reasons, they became very distressed and demanded to stay with me for mental health reasons. I have signed documentation where they state that I'm supportive and they don't want reasonable accommodations that I've offered, like shorter days, fewer days, or longer breaks. I have a meeting with them and their support workers from the mental health group, and I have no idea how to handle this. And then 3 months later, OP posted an update, which starts out really dry. I'll just skip to the interesting part, the reason why this post got so many upvotes. I asked if there was anything I could do to help him transition back into work. As I was talking, he started taking paperwork out of a folder, and I should have realized something was up when his support worker sighed deeply and slumped down in his chair. My colleague requested that he be allowed to bring an emotional support animal to work with him, namely a support cat. We're in the UK, and this is not the norm, so I was a bit surprised. He hadn't settled on a breed yet, but was torn between an Abyssinian or a Siamese. I thought pointing out some obvious difficulties with this idea might make him realize how inappropriate this would be. For example, I pointed out that we have a guide dog in the building for a partially sighted colleague. His name is Rufus, and he is by far the most popular person in the building. The dog, not the human. And Rufus may not get along with a cat. My colleague responded by telling me that it was illegal to discriminate by favoring one disability over another. And if a blind person could have a guide dog, a depressed person could have a cat. I moved on from this clearly idiotic point and asked how a cat would react to being placed in a pet carrier twice a day to travel to and from work. He advised me that he would train the cat. My boss became very agitated at this point, demanding, "How the hell do you train a cat?" Not to be deterred, my colleague stated that in the worst case scenario, he would leave the cat at work overnight and only take him home on weekends. I asked how he intended to cope with the litter tray cleaning. Given his serious weight issues, bending down to empty a litter tray would be difficult for him. He presented me with a spreadsheet he created with a team rotation for cleaning up after the cat and feeding it. Oh my god. He also costed out food, insurance, and the actual cost of the cat on the spreadsheet with an expected donation from each team member, with a sliding scale depending on how he perceived their financial circumstances. I was paying the most since I'm single, earn more, and have no dependent children. The spreadsheet was quite impressive, color-coded and everything. I politely said no to that, and he then started insisting the company should pay for it, as it would be a legitimate business expense to accommodate his disabilities. At this point, I realized my boss was still repeating, "How the hell do you train a cat?" And the support worker was shaking his head and muttering, "I told you not to do this." So I made a unilateral decision on behalf of my company and advised him in no uncertain terms that we would not be buying any cats. We would not be cleaning up after any cats because we would not be permitting him to bring any cats on the premises. He was not happy. He complained that I was making it impossible for him to return to work. My boss took a break from his cat training mantra to say that we had perhaps gone as far as we could for the time being, and we should end this meeting at this point. As we were leaving, he did make a point of telling the support worker, "There will be no bloody cats." The support worker nodded and agreed that this was entirely fair. I didn't hear anything from him for a week or so, then received another 4-week sick note from him, so I called to check in and see how he was doing. He was very unhappy about my discriminatory anti-cat stance and advised that he would be taking it further. 2 weeks later, I received a letter from what initially looked like a local solicitor's office. It advised me I was being sued for breaking disability discrimination laws. The letter itself was filled with bizarrely American legalese that seemed to be pulled from Law and Order episodes. On closer examination, the letterhead had been edited to change the contact details to his home phone number and personal mobile. I'm not sure whose address he used, but it wasn't the solicitor's in question. I handed it to my boss, who had also received one, so both were forwarded to our legal department. I was advised to have no further contact with him. Legal has informed me that his contract has been terminated with immediate effect. I am honestly stunned at how it all turned out. I half expected him to be terminated due to the amount of sick leave and his unwillingness to address his performance issues, but I would have never guessed it would have ended like this. It's both funny and sad. Down in the comments, I like this reply from Throwaway. I can't stop laughing at the boss who got so caught up on the training a cat tangent and just zoned out. Our next Reddit post is from r/college rant. My professor recently revealed that he's been docking points anytime he sees anyone with their cell phone out during the lecture, even if it's just lying on their desk and they're not using it. He's docked more than 20 points from me alone, and I don't even text during lectures. I just keep my phone face down on my desk out of habit. It's late in the semester, and I'm at risk of failing this class, having to pay thousands of dollars that I can't afford for another semester, and lose the job I have lined up for when I graduate. I talked to him, and he just smiled and referred me to a single sentence buried in the 5-page syllabus that says, "Cell phones should not be visible during lectures." He's never called attention to it or said anything about the rule. He looks so smug, like he just won a court case instead of just screwing a random struggling college kid with a contrived loophole. So far, I've tried speaking to the professor, tried submitting a complaint through my school's grade appeal system, which was denied without explanation, and there doesn't seem to be a way to appeal, and tried speaking with the department head, but he didn't seem to care. Literally just said, "That's why it's important to read the syllabus." I feel like I'm out of options, and I don't know what to do. Then OP posted an update. After I read everyone's feedback, I emailed the dean and the school newspaper. No response. I know that at least 2 other students in my class tried emailing the dean as well, without any luck. But I ran the math, and I'm guaranteed to fail the class if the deductions stand. I have nothing to lose. So I wrote a petition. No one's taken this seriously coming from us individually, so I think it's important to show that it's not just a couple of disgruntled college kids whining about a bad grade. My plan, if I can get the signatures, is to send the petition to the dean and the school newspaper. But here's where I hit a major snag. Yesterday, as I was getting ready to send the petition out, my professor sent us all an email attaching an amended syllabus. The amended syllabus is exactly the same, except it now has a paragraph that says, "All grade disputes must be raised exclusively through the grade appeal system. Any attempt to dispute a grade through alternative channels, including but not limited to direct outreach to faculty other than me, will result in an automatic failing final grade of 0%, without exception." Well, I thought that was the end of it. No one would be interested in signing the petition after that. Surprisingly, 3 of the other students I spoke with independently messaged me asking if I was still going through with the petition, and promised they would sign if I did. They are pissed. They think this new policy is retaliatory. And then 3 other people I hadn't even talked to about this reached out and said they heard that I was planning to send a petition and would sign it if I sent it. They think a bunch of other people would too. They wouldn't tell me who they heard about the petition from, but the cats are out of the bag now. I'm not sure exactly how many others have had their grades docked because of this phone policy, but from asking around, it seems like at least half the class had some kind of deduction. Down in the comments, a couple of professors have come to OP's aid, and one guy pointed out that this might actually not even be legal because some students have disabilities. and would therefore need to rely on phones or technology to help record notes or translate. So this policy is really setting the college up for a huge lawsuit. Then OP posted another update that just says, I want to thank everyone for the advice they gave. I'd rather not divulge too much more at this time since the threads blew up so much, other than that everything ended up working out. Thanks again. So, looks like the professor caved because the professor's an idiot. You guys want to hear the dumbest thing I ever got my grade docked for? I was in a college writing course, and I had turned in an essay, and the professor was returning the essays to everyone, and she put my essay in front of me, and I didn't immediately grab it and look at the grade she gave me on the last page, so she docked me points. Oh, I just care so much about your opinion. I've got to read on the last page what your opinion is right now. Yo, I don't care. I knew what grade I got in that paper. I got an A. I knew I got an A because I know how to write essays. Turns out I did get an A, of course. This is I'm going to flex for a second, you guys. I've gotten an A on every single essay I've written in my entire life. When I was in 9th grade, the teacher said, everyone, one of our students wrote an essay so good. This is so stupid. Wrote an essay so good that I'm going to stand in front of class and read it to everyone. And she started reading it, and I was like, wait a second, that's my essay. And then the teacher read the essay, and afterwards I was like, teacher, whoever wrote that essay is a genius. I agree, that's an amazing essay. And the teacher said, because you wrote it. The cat was out of the bag. She tried to read it anonymously. And honest to God, this sounds like made up BS. It really honestly does. I had that happen to me probably 3 or 4 times between high school and college. A teacher/professor getting up in the middle of class and reading part or all of my essay to the class as an example of what a good essay is. Man, the words are coming out of my mouth and I realize that this sounds like BS. I swear to God, this has actually happened. Trust me, this is too stupid of a thing to flex on. It doesn't make me sound cool that I know how to write a college essay. That's not a cool fact, okay? So come on, Mrs. Whatever your face is. I don't even remember her name. I don't need to know your opinion. Oh, great essay. A+, good job. Whatever, man. Pisses me off. Our next Reddit post is from r/legal advice. I was sexually assaulted while home over a break, not by another university student, and the trial of my attacker starts in 2 weeks. I'm a university student about 5 hours driving distance from my hometown where the assault occurred, and I'll need to travel there to testify at the trial. I've spoken to my advisor and all my professors notifying them of the days I'd be out, and everyone was understanding, giving me take-home versions of my tests or work I'd be missing. Unfortunately, one of the days that I'll likely need to be out coincides with midterms, so my professor was required to get approval from the academic dean and dean of the college to issue a take-home midterm. His request for the take-home midterm was denied. When this came to the attention of the deans, they contacted all my professors and informed me that if I missed that many classes, I'd be kicked out of school. My professors were comfortable marking these as reported absences, which basically means there was a justification like a doctor's note or other official documentation. I showed the deans that I was, in fact, being called to testify by the defense, so it wasn't even really like I had a choice. I figured that would be enough documentation. The dean said that personal non-medical conflicts could not be counted as reported absences, and they'd be treated as unreported absences. So they'd be treated as the same thing as if I just slept through class. They suggested I apply for a leave of absence for the semester because otherwise I'd be dropped from my classes at the 3rd absence, and I'd be on probation if dropped from 2 or more classes, which was school policy. The sexual assault took enough from me already. I went to great lengths to be sure that I didn't miss a day of school while recovering. I don't want this man to derail my life further by pushing back my graduation dates. I spoke to the Title IX office who'd promised me they could help, but it turns out that their idea of helping was helping me plan my leave of absence. I don't want to take a leave of absence. All my professors were ready and willing to work with me, and I was and am entirely capable of keeping up with the work. Do I have any legal recourse here against the school? Then, 3 weeks later, OP posted an update. Thanks to everyone's terrific advice, I got my university ombudsman involved, and I also reached out to a local survivor group who connected me to a wonderful attorney who facilitated between me and the legal services team at my school. Within a day of meeting with the school's general counsel, my attorney and I were invited to meet with the deans who had made the final decision. One of my professors also apparently saw my legal advice post and put 2 and 2 together. My professors were not previously aware of the full extent of what was going on. And he and my other professors submitted a letter on my behalf protesting the administration's decision, copying the board, ombudsman, legal counsel, and high-level members of the administration, which was so incredibly touching that I'm still overwhelmed and trying to properly thank them. Between my professor's incredible gesture and my showing up with an attorney raising flags, at the meeting I was given carte blanche to work out the details of my absences between myself and my professors. And two were able to give me modified assignments that could be done at home, but still exemplified the same knowledge and skill sets. The ombudsman and the legal counsel assured me they're looking into the policy that caused this ordeal in the first place. The ombudsman is making sure the policy is being correctly and reasonably enforced, as in not being used to coerce students into violating a subpoena. And the legal counsel is advising the administration on new guidelines for the policy so no one else has to experience this going forward. Yo, the deans of this university, I think they were trying to speed run getting sued. Not just getting sued, but losing a lawsuit. That was r/best of Redditor updates, and if you like this content, check out my podcast where I publish the exact same episodes. Also, hit that subscribe button because I put out new Reddit videos every single day.